Welcome to World Largest Extremes, where we analyze the monumental events that have forever reshaped the global landscape. No event in modern memory is more defined by its sheer tragedy and political impact than September 11, 2001. For most, the story of 9/11 is settled history, sealed by the official findings of the 9/11 Commission and the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Yet, for millions of Americans, the investigation is far from over. A persistent, extreme core of architects, engineers, pilots, and citizens continues to demand a new, uncensored, and transparent inquiry. Today, we dive into the heart of this enduring controversy. We are breaking down the top 10 reasons why some Americans believe the monumental truth of 9/11 remains buried. We are not here to take a side, but to illuminate the extreme complexity and the persistent, unanswered questions that fuel this demand for accountability. The most frequently cited arguments for reinvestigation revolve around fundamental physics and structural engineering. 1. The free-fall speed of collapse, World Trade Center 1 and 2. The official narrative states that the impacts and subsequent fires weakened the steel structure until the towers failed. However, many engineers argue that the rate of collapse was suspiciously close to free-fall speed. They contend that fire damage alone should have led to an asymmetric, slower collapse, involving resistance from the lower, undamaged floors. The near-symmetrical and rapid destruction, they argue, defies the known laws of gravity and structural failure under fire conditions. 2. The implosion of World Trade Center 7. The collapse of WTC-7 is perhaps the single greatest technical sticking point. This 47-story skyscraper was not hit by a plane. It collapsed 7 hours after the main towers, in just 6.5 seconds, again, very close to free-fall speed. The official report attributes the failure to fire damage from debris, yet this would be the first instance in history where a steel-framed building collapsed solely due to fire without pre-existing structural damage. Critics demand an extreme, detailed inquiry into the specific sequence of structural failures that caused its rapid, vertical descent. Three. The temperature discrepancy, steel versus fire. A monumental point of contention involves the temperatures reached during the fires. Jet fuel fires burn at temperatures far below the 2,750 degrees Fahrenheit required to melt structural steel. Official reports state the steel didn't melt, but merely weakened. Critics counter that the pools of molten metal seen flowing from the towers and the extreme pulverization of concrete suggest the use of high-intensity accelerants or other unknown compounds, demanding chemical analysis of the immense dust cloud. Many questions focus on the unprecedented failures in the intelligence and military response systems on that day. Four. Failure to act on pre-9/11 warnings.
I didn't see what happened, but I saw people jumping out of the building just now. I'm trying to see if my sister's alright because she's in that building. No, the World Trade Center itself. She's in the World Trade Center. I can't talk. I'm sorry, I really can't talk.
The 9/11 Commission report documented multiple, often extreme intelligence failures leading up to the attacks. Critics point to intercepted communications, warnings from foreign agencies, and the infamous Phoenix Memo, which detailed a pattern of suspicious men enrolling in U.S. flight schools that were allegedly dismissed or mishandled by the FBI and CIA. The demand is for a new investigation that holds specific leaders accountable for these organizational and systemic failures. Five. NORAD and the stand-down question. Under standard operating procedure, military jets from NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command, should have been scrambled immediately to intercept any hijacked aircraft. On September 11th, critics cite the extreme delay in interception, arguing that fighter jets were held back or redirected due to unprecedented confusion or overlapping military exercises being conducted that very morning. The question remains, why did the world's most sophisticated air defense system take so long to respond to an obvious threat? Accountability and transparency require a complete forensic record, yet much of the physical evidence vanished immediately after the collapse. Six, the immediate sale of steel scrap. In the days and weeks following the attacks, thousands of tons of steel from the wreckage were rapidly loaded onto ships and sold to buyers, mostly in China and India. Investigators argue this unprecedented rush destroyed the most critical forensic evidence, the damaged steel columns and trusses that could have provided definitive answers about the failure mechanism. Critics label this destruction of evidence as a monumental cover-up of the true collapse cause. 7. The missing flight data recorders, FDRs. Flight data recorders, the black boxes, were recovered from all 4 flights during the investigation. However, the recorders from Flight 11, North Tower, and Flight 175, South Tower, were never officially recovered. Critics find it an extreme impossibility that these robust recording devices survived the crash of Flight 93 and the impact at the Pentagon, but not the falls in Manhattan, demanding to know the true fate of this crucial data. 8. Lack of forensic accountability at the Pentagon. The attack on the Pentagon also features deep controversy regarding evidence. Critics point to the relatively small, precise entry hole and the general lack of massive wing and tail debris expected from a Boeing 757 impact. They argue that the collected evidence, such as surveillance tapes from nearby hotels and gas stations, was immediately confiscated and has never been fully released.
Then you just got out the door.
No, there was no door left. It was a big hole. But we stayed because our officer was trapped. We didn't come out of there. We were trying to dig him out. He was alive. And then it collapsed again on us. They're looking for him. Yeah.
Hindering an independent forensic analysis of the damage patterns. Finally, many Americans push for a new probe to address the political forces and the perceived limitations of the original investigation. 9. The Saudi connection and the 28 pages. For years, the extreme secrecy surrounding the 28 pages of the 2002 Joint Congressional Inquiry fueled public distrust. These pages, finally declassified in part in 2016, detailed evidence of Saudi governmental ties or support networks that may have assisted the hijackers while they were in the United States. Critics argue that the original commission deliberately downplayed or obscured the extent of this foreign support to protect diplomatic relations, necessitating a new, unconstrained probe. Limitations of the 9/11 Commission. The original 9/11 Commission faced monumental challenges, but critics argue it was fundamentally flawed. The Commission was restricted by its budget, its timeline, and its reliance on testimony that was not always under oath. Furthermore, critics cite evidence that key witnesses were coached or that relevant questions were deliberately avoided to maintain a predetermined conclusion. The demand for a new investigation is rooted in the belief that the American public was denied a full, uncompromised, and truly independent presentation of the evidence. The events of 9/11 represent the ultimate extreme of modern tragedy, and the pursuit of answers is an extreme testament to American democratic scrutiny. The official narrative is massive, complex, and conclusive for many, but the questions raised by these 10 points, spanning physics, intelligence, and accountability, continue to challenge its foundations. Whether driven by a search for ultimate truth or simply the need for extreme, public transparency, the demand for a new investigation remains a defining force in American political discourse. What do you think is the single most compelling reason for a new inquiry? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this extreme dive into the unresolved questions of 9/11 educated you, Be sure to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to World's Largest Extremes for more groundbreaking analysis of monumental forces. Until next time, keep demanding accountability.